From Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida, you're watching live coverage of the launch of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket and Dragon capsule from Space Launch Complex 40. This is Falcon Launch Control at T-minus 1 hour, 34 minutes, and counting. On this date in history, 54 years ago, October 7, 1958, America's fledgling human spaceflight program officially received its name, Project Mercury, and a new era began. Tonight, October 7, 2012, another new era begins, and a new history will be made. America's first commercial resupply services rocket is poised for liftoff from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, the same facility that launched the Mercury missions and began the era of American human spaceflight. The SpaceX Commercial Resupply Services 1 mission will return to American soil the launch of cargo to the International Space Station. Liftoff of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket and Dragon capsule is scheduled for 8:35 p.m. and 7 seconds Eastern Time. At liftoff, the Falcon 9 will head northeast at an inclination of 51.6 degrees to the equator to match the International Space Station orbit, its destination in 3 days. This mission, designated SpaceX CRS-1 for Commercial Resupply Services 1, will be the first of 12 contracted flights by the company to resupply the space station. Under the CRS contract, SpaceX will restore America's capability to deliver and return significant amounts of cargo, including science experiments, to the space station, which is a capability that has not been available since the retirement of the space shuttle. The Dragon capsule is filled with about 1,000 pounds of supplies, including critical materials to support the 166 investigations planned for the station's Expedition 33 crew. 63 of these will be new. Equally and possibly more important, Dragon will return with about 2,000 pounds of cargo, including 734 pounds of scientific materials from human research, biotechnology, materials and education experiments, and about 504 pounds of space station hardware. The piece of orbital debris that was discussed during Saturday's pre-launch news conference has been reevaluated and is not a concern, so there will be no need for the space station to perform a debris avoidance maneuver. So at the time of launch, the space station will be exactly where we thought it would be, flying at an altitude of 255 miles southwest of Tasmania. Leading up to this evening, SpaceX successfully completed 2 demonstration missions using Falcon 9 and Dragon under NASA's Commercial Orbital Transportation Services Program, or COTS. The second of those missions, in May of this year, marked the first time that a private company had launched a spacecraft into orbit, successfully attached it to the International Space Station, delivered a payload, and returned safely to the Earth, something previously accomplished only by spacefaring governments. There are no technical issues. Everything has been progressing well through the countdown. Weather is 60% favorable. That's the prediction for the time of launch. Mike McAleenan, launch weather officer from the U.S. Air Force 45th Weather Squadron at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, is briefing the launch director and launch controllers and keeping everyone apprised of the weather in the area. The concern has been for thick clouds and anvil clouds and the potential for Dragon and Falcon to fly through precipitation. Those are flight rules that we would not want to violate. The prediction has... This is Falcon Launch Control at T-minus 22 minutes, 32 seconds and counting. Dragon is fully loaded with more than 1,000 pounds of cargo, taking it to the space station, but equally and perhaps more important is Dragon's ability to return cargo from the station. That is critical for supporting scientific research in the space station's unique microgravity environment, which enables important benefits for humanity and vastly increases understanding of how humans can safely work, live, and thrive in space for a very long period of time. The ability of Dragon to return frozen samples is something that has been missing since the space shuttle retired, and this will be tremendously beneficial to the station's research community. 30 seconds away from transferring Falcon 9 to internal power.
T-minus 5 minutes.
GN2 load ended nominally. Stage 1 and Stage 2 internal auto sequences have started.
Dragon is now transferred to internal power. T-minus 4 minutes, 35 seconds.
Stage 2 and Stage 1 are on internal power.
Vehicle release auto sequences started.
T-minus 4 minutes.
At T-minus 3 minutes, 11 seconds.
Start of Stage 2 TVC wiggles.
The flight termination system will be armed.
System is setting up.
T-minus 3 minutes, 30 seconds and counting.
FTS is on internal power.
At T-minus 3 minutes, liquid oxygen topping will terminate.
Pre-valves are coming closed.
FTS is armed.
Flight termination system is armed.
Fuel trim valves are set to their flight positions.
At T-minus 2 minutes, 30 seconds, SpaceX launch director will verify a go for launch.
LD, verify go for launch. Go for launch.
At T-minus 2 minutes and counting, the Air Force Range Control Officer will verify the eastern range is go.
Ended nominally.
T-minus 2 minutes, 10 seconds and counting.
Rock, verify range go. Rock, verify range go.
RC, standby. RC, this is Rock on Countdown Net. Range green.
Pre-valves are coming open. Helium load is ending nominally. Aux bleeds are open. One final engine chill for all 9 Merlin engines on first stage.
Everything is go. T-minus 1 minute, 20 seconds and counting.
Purge ISO is opened.
At T-minus 1 minute, the flight computer will be commanded to start up.
First stage engines chilled in.
Flight computers in auto idle.
T-minus 1 minute.
Flight computers in startup.
The flight computer is now in control of the vehicle.
Flight computer now controlling the vehicle at T-minus 53 seconds. Standing by for the propellant tanks to flight pressure.
First and second stages are pressing to their flight positions. Helium checkout is aborted nominally.
T-minus 30 seconds.
At T-minus 3 seconds,
20 seconds.
the 9 Merlin engines of the first stage will ignite.
T-minus 15. 10, 9, 8, 7.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And liftoff. Liftoff of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, launching Dragon to the International Space Station and returning cargo resupply missions to U.S. soil.
Starting gravity turn.
JDMTA acquisition of signal.
T plus 45 seconds. 1 minute and 10 seconds after liftoff, the Falcon 9 will reach supersonic speed, passing through the area of maximum dynamic pressure. 10 seconds later.
Vehicle is on a nominal trajectory at 5 kilometers in altitude, velocity of 230 meters per second, and downrange distance of 700 meters. Vehicle is supersonic.
Falcon now through
Vehicle
max
has reached
Q.
maximum aerodynamic pressure.
This is the point where the mechanical stress on the rocket reaches its peak because of the rocket's velocity and the resistance created by the atmosphere of Earth.
Second stage will start an engine chill.
Coming up on 2 minutes, everything is go. All 9 Merlin engines performing normally. About 2.5 minutes into the flight,
Dragon power systems are
56
nominal.
miles high and traveling at 10 times the speed of sound. 2 of the first stage engines will shut down to reduce the rocket's acceleration, followed by the remaining 7 engines.
Approaching MECO 1.
Approaching main engine cutoff.
Past the mid-MECO point. First stage shutdown.
And the first stage has
Stage
shut down.
separation confirmed.
The first and second stages are separating.
And that ignition confirmed.
The second stage's single Merlin vacuum engine is igniting to begin a 6-minute, 14-second burn that will bring Dragon into low Earth orbit.
IIP lift.
And next shutdown confirmed.
Falcon Dragon are in orbit. Perigee 197 kilometers, apogee 328 kilometers.
And a successful launch for Falcon 9 and Dragon as they reach orbit. Second stage engine has cut off, and Dragon about to separate from Falcon.
Dragon deploy commanded. Dragon deploy confirmed.
And we have confirmation. Dragon has separated from Falcon 9. 2, 1. And liftoff. Liftoff of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, launching Dragon to the International Space Station and returning cargo resupply missions to U.S. soil.
Starting gravity turn.
JDMTA acquisition of signal.
T plus 45 seconds. 1 minute and 10 seconds after liftoff, the Falcon 9 will reach supersonic speed, passing through the area of maximum dynamic pressure 10 seconds later.
Vehicle is on a nominal trajectory at 5 kilometers in altitude, velocity of 230 meters per second, and downrange distance of 700 meters. Vehicle is supersonic.
Falcon now through
Vehicle has reached maximum aerodynamic pressure.
This is the point where the mechanical stress on the rocket reaches its peak because of the rocket's velocity and the resistance created by the atmosphere of Earth. 2, 1. And liftoff. Liftoff of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, launching Dragon to the International Space Station and returning cargo resupply missions to U.S. soil.
Starting gravity turn. JDMTA acquisition of signal.
T plus 45 seconds. 1 minute and 10 seconds after liftoff, the Falcon 9 will reach supersonic speed, passing through the area of maximum dynamic pressure 10 seconds later.
Vehicle is on a nominal trajectory at 5 kilometers in altitude, velocity of 230 meters per second, and downrange distance of 700 meters. Vehicle is supersonic.
Falcon now through
Vehicle
max
has reached
Q.
maximum aerodynamic pressure.
This is the point where the mechanical stress on the rocket reaches its peak because of the rocket's velocity and the resistance created by the atmosphere of Earth. Good evening and welcome everyone to our post-launch news conference for the SpaceX Commercial Resupply Services 1 mission. It's always a great occasion when we are here for a post-launch news conference, and we are pleased to be joined this evening by Sam Shamimi to my immediate left. Sam is director of the International Space Station from NASA headquarters in Washington, and by SpaceX President Gwynne Shotwell. We'll begin with some opening comments and then be happy to take questions. Sam?
Thanks. It's a great evening to be here in Florida. I would like to congratulate SpaceX on a beautiful launch and a successful deployment of the Dragon spacecraft into orbit. And I'd also like to thank all the other organizations that made this possible here tonight, including the NASA teams, the FAA, and the Air Force. And look forward to working with the SpaceX teams for a successful mission here in the next few days. Thank you.
My turn. Obviously, it's great to be here again this evening. Wanted to congratulate the SpaceX team. This is the first time we've lifted off at our planned first T0, which is excellent. We did insert Dragon into a picture-perfect orbit within 2 or 3 kilometers on both apogee and perigee, and Dragon is on its way to station. We also deployed the solar arrays for Dragon. The next big event for Dragon will occur in about an hour. And that is the GNC Bay door unlatching. That door needs to unlatch and fully deploy and lock itself in the open condition in order for us to successfully berth with the International Space Station. So we'll be looking for that to happen in the next hour or so.
Okay, we'll take questions here. We have traditional news media members as well as people from our NASA Social who are reporting on social media. We would like for you to please state your name, your affiliation, and to whom you're addressing your question. And we'll start with Marcia Dunn.
Marcia Dunn, Associated Press from Ms. Shotwell. Talk about the stress level at liftoff today. How does it compare to the one in May? And does the victory seem as sweet as it did some months back? And have you had any conversation yet with Elon Musk?
Elon and I have emailed back and forth a couple times. I've not talked to him. As soon as I heard that the solar arrays deployed, I had to jump in my car from LCC and get here. So it would be illegal for me to be emailing and talking on my cell phone. So, you know, actually, I was quite calm tonight, a little bit surprised, but everything was going so well with the operations leading up to the final countdown. Definitely got the heart moving a bit at T-minus 10 seconds. But overall, this one was a little bit easier from my perspective. I'm not sure that everybody at the 2,000 men and women at SpaceX feel the same, but I'll find out when I fly home tomorrow.
And with it, in that little bit of exchange, what did Elon have to say about this?
Well, I congratulated him. He congratulated me. It was kind of email hugs, I guess you could say.
Bill?
Bill Harwood, CBS. Well, I was just wondering if you did get a chance to call anybody. We were looking at some video, and it looks like about 120 or so. There's a pretty good flash in the plume and some apparent debris coming out. And obviously, you got where you were going, so it probably doesn't matter, but just curious.
Well, I do know we had an anomaly on engine 1. I have no data about it. I was trying to get the prop guys before I came in here tonight, but there wasn't enough time to connect with anybody. So I'll report on that tomorrow. We'll have a release on that tomorrow. But Falcon 9 was designed to lose engines and still make missions, so it did what it was supposed to do.
And that would explain why you burn longer than I guess we were expecting.
That's correct. If you do have issues with an engine, you would end up burning longer to get where you need to go.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, down front.
Jim Siegel, Celebration Independent Newspaper. A question for either Sam or maybe Gwen. In the next year or so, what % of the ISS's needs are going to be supplied by SpaceX, and then separately by all of the commercial companies that you mentioned earlier?
I don't have a specific percentage-wise, but a large percentage of the needs for the utilization of the space station and the crew and vehicle needs will be fulfilled by SpaceX and eventually Orbital as well.
Tariq Malik.
Thank you, Tariq Malik with Space.com for Gwen. Gwen, you mentioned I guess maybe the sense of more ease for this flight than back in May. But I'm curious if there's like a rubber stamp for operationality now for the whole launch system. Now that as you mentioned, you hit your first T0 on the dot this time, which I know my staff and I were talking about that as well. And I'm just wondering if that's the case. I mean, is there a point where you say we are completely operational? Is there always room for improvement? And I have a follow-up. Thanks.
Okay, well, for me, that's two different things, being operational and room for improvement. I think we will continue to always improve. We will learn from our flights and continue to improve the vehicle. Given that we are looking towards flying crew on these vehicles, we want to make sure that we address any and all items that we find and learn about with the vehicle to make it even more reliable. I forget the first part of your question. Sorry, Tariq.
Just about just declaring.
Are we operational? Air Force actually has a rule that after 3 successful flights of a particular vehicle, you've demonstrated your design reliability, and after 7 to 9 additional more flights, after 7 or 9 flights, you basically have demonstrated your production, your QA systems, et cetera. So this was an operational mission, so we're operational. Doesn't mean we're not going to stop learning and ensuring that these vehicles are as reliable as we can possibly make them.
Mark Ratterman with Talking Space. Question for Sam. You've got a variety of vehicles to carry cargo to the ISS for the international partners. How important is that, not to take away from SpaceX, because I know the country and everyone is thrilled to have this flight tonight, but how important is it for the variety with capabilities that each has?
To have the capabilities that the SpaceX has with the Dragon vehicle, especially with the return, is really critical to the utilization of the space station. It's also critical that we bring SpaceX, we have brought SpaceX on, and to bring Orbital on to us to be able to fully utilize the capability of space station and to ensure that we have a robust capability. Having dissimilar transportation capability as a space station is critical to its long-term health.
Okay. Stephen Clark with Spaceflight Now for Gwen. Just curious if you have an update on the deployment of the Orbcom secondary payload.
I do know we successfully deployed Orbcom, but I don't have any information other than that.
Okay, around frontier.
Hi, Stacy Severn, NASA Social Media. Burning question, did the ice cream go up and what flavor?
It did go up, but I did not know the flavor. Do you know, Glenn?
Blue Bonnet vanilla with chocolate swirl.
Thank you very
much. All right. We're going to take
I wasn't going to come here without that answer.
Oh, good. We'll take one more question here, and then we'll go to our phone bridge and then come back.
All right, Sarah Zolkovic, NHK. This question is for Sam. At the podium, the administrator spoke about NASA's leadership with the international space industry. How does this partnership with SpaceX help maintain leadership for America?
Certainly, having the commercial supply of cargo and eventually crew will provide the U.S. to fulfill its leadership responsibilities in the International Space Station program. We have leadership responsibilities for crew and cargo and sustainment of the program, and it also provides a very broad capability here in the U.S. that is more likely to be more robust than our partners in such capabilities, since we have both government and commercial industry capabilities.
Okay, let's go to the phone bridge. We have TMC Satellite Spotlight on the line. Go ahead with your question, please.
Hi, Doug Money here. This is to Gwen. Can you talk a little bit about your manifest, both for the rest of this year and in 2013, what you have on the agenda, number one? And number two, if you could address, are you feeling more confident that you can meet manifest now that you've had basically two successful, well, knock on wood, two successful flights so far with Dragon Station?
So the manifest, the next flight that we have on the Falcon 9 manifest is the SpaceX CRS-2 mission, which we have a 2-week window. We'll start that on or about January 18th of 2013. Then we have the rollout of the upgraded Falcon 9, which will fly Cassiope for Canada, SES, TICOM, ORBCOM. We have CRS-3 and CRS-4 to execute next year, and we'd like to lift off the Heavy next year from Vandenberg Air Force Base as well. So am I more comfortable launching? No question. Every successful flight we have makes everybody feel a little bit better. Doesn't mean that we still don't have a really hard job to do. Yeah, so we still have a lot of work to do. Getting to station is still hard.
Did you have a follow-up question?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Back with Jim.
Jim Siegel again from the Celebration Independent newspaper. For Gwen, what aspect, what is the most difficult aspect of this mission from SpaceX's point of view?
Launch is always a worry moment, so there's no question that launch is tough. And then I think as far as the level of difficulty, it would be when you're approaching space station on the R-bar, and because you're basically in close proximity to the International Space Station. It's a crewed $100 billion orbiting body, so you want to be really careful as you do that. So it takes it's tough on the operators.
It has crew on it too.
Yes, it has crew, right.
Thank you.
Todd.
Todd Halverson, Florida Today for Gwen. With the manifest you just laid out, it sounds like you're really going to have to pick up the pace in terms of production as well as launch operations. And I wonder whether you feel as if these first 4 flights of the Falcon 9 has prepared you to do that. And just as a follow, I was wondering if you could update me or refresh my memory on your eligibility to bid on EELV or other DoD missions. Thanks.
As far as production goes, we've known this moment was going to come for quite some time, so we've been preparing for production for many years. We're actually just completing a remodel of the factory to ensure that we can build these cores to meet our manifest and our customer requirements. So, frankly, I think the harder thing is getting 1 million pounds off the deck rather than building a bunch of these each year. I'm not going to trivialize that, but that's a royal problem to have. And you ask about EELV, I'd rather focus on this particular mission here today. On the other hand, we obviously are going hard after being able to compete for EELV missions.
Tarek?
Thank you. Tarek Malik with Space.com. I think for both Gwen and Sam, you mentioned some of the big steps coming up in an hour for Dragon, and I'm wondering about the cruise tomorrow, what you're going to be watching then in the spacecraft systems, or how the transition from launch to cruise to the station is going to go on the ground ops team. Thanks.
Let me take that?
Yeah, let me take that.
Okay, so the G&C bay door is supposed to open and latch at 2 hours and 43 minutes into the mission. So 8:30. So actually, about an hour from right now, we'll be watching the relative nav, all the navigation sensors over the next day or so. We will initiate our first co-elliptic burn about 21 hours into the mission. And then we'll be approaching station at about 48 hours. We'll be approaching station, not berthing in that time frame. And so what will be key to look out for is when we initiate the Cuckoo, the COTS UHF communications unit. That's the UHF comms that we have with the International Space Station. And then it's all LIDARs and thermal imagers.
Yeah, a question for Sam. Earlier you asked a little bit about NASA leadership, and you kind of answered in the context of cooperation with the ISS. As the ISS program manager now, the U.S. will not be alone soon with soon Chinese and the Indians are trying to catch up in space. The Chinese are working towards building a space station. In the context of this launch, how does this cooperation with SpaceX and your other commercial partners help the U.S. and NASA maintain that leadership role, given the burgeoning international competition in space?
It not only broadens the capabilities here domestically, but also to operate and do business in space, if you will. It also broadens the industry base on the ground, the employment in the various locations across the country, and in that way it strengthens not only the base of the industry, but also the capabilities that we're deploying in space. It also provide the basis for companies like SpaceX to do other things other than just go to space station eventually. So we're looking forward to that as well. So it's not just the government itself providing leadership, it is industry itself providing leadership as well, which is more than China or India or other countries are doing today.
Yes, this is James Tutton with Valencia Voice. I have a question for Ms. Shotwell. Are there any plans for the future in Florida and with SpaceX, like future employment or expansion employment or anything like that?
Oh, there's no question we're going to continue to increase our employment here in Florida. I'm pretty sure we're going to overwhelm this range with launches of Falcon 9s and Falcon 9s and Dragons from here. I do very much look forward to bringing SES and TICOM here next year. Those vehicles or those launches would have otherwise gone either to the Russians, the Europeans, or the Chinese. So I'm really happy to be bringing those missions here to Florida.
Mark Ratterman with Talking Space. Question for you, Gwen. I appreciate the truth about the fact that this is not easy, that it is a difficult operation to do. Do you think anyone will catch you?
Catch me?
Catch SpaceX and the business that you're doing so well in?
That's an unfair question. Let's put it this way. SpaceX strives to be ahead of everybody. How's that? All our competitors.
Thank you.
Okay, around in the front row, Jim.
Jim Siegel, Celebration Independent News. A question for Sam, I believe. Are there certain types of payloads that are better suited than others for SpaceX, for Dragon, and so on, compared to, say, what the Russians are taking up to the space station?
Actually, the SpaceX Dragon and trunk capabilities are greater than what we can do, to say, on Progress for dry goods, for instance. Progress does have the capability to provide propellant on the Russian segment. So in some ways it is more capable, but different capabilities than others.
All right. Seeing no further questions, I'll put you on the spot and see if either of you has any closing comments, and if not, we'll wrap it up.
I'd like to take the opportunity once again to thank NASA. SpaceX would not be where we are today without the help and support and leadership that they've provided us over the since August of 2006. So I'd like to thank them again. Thanks very much. Also, the additional mission partners that we had here at the U.S. Air Force. Mike did clear the weather for us, which was fabulous. The FAA, and actually I'm going to give some kudos to FCC as well.
And I'd like to just congratulate SpaceX on going from where we were in 2006, which is quite a while ago now, it seems, to where we are today. I think the relationship has matured very nicely over the years, and today's launch and successful mission here will be proof of that. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. When we close, we're going to replay the launch, the great launch of the SpaceX Falcon 9 and Dragon on NASA television. And in the coming days, on Wednesday, October 10th, we'll begin coverage of Grapple at 3 a.m. Central Time, 4 a.m. Eastern Time. The actual Grapple should occur at 6:22 Central, 7:22 a.m. Eastern. And then we'll also carry coverage of berthing that will begin at 9:15 Eastern, 8:15 Central. And the actual berth will take place at 8:40 Central, 9:40 Eastern. Once again, thank you for coming. You can keep track of the mission at our website, which is www.nasa.gov/station. Have a good evening.
Demonstration flight. And once again, Aki Hoshide will be at the controls of the arm. There you see a good sense of the layout of the station. Once Dragon arrives, you see Columbus there on the left. That is actually technically on the right side of the station because the station flies with the U.S. segment forward. And then the Harmony there in the middle, and then the Japanese Kibo laboratory there on the far left side. You can see Dragon's solar panels there extended. This vehicle is fairly large for our cargo craft. It is 4.4 meters tall, which is about 14.5 feet. It is a little more than 3.5 meters in diameter, which is about 12 feet. The trunk, which is the bottom portion that the solar panels are attached to, is about 9.2 feet tall and 12 feet wide. And as you can see, a good view there of the solar panels. Whenever they're fully extended, the vehicle is 54 feet wide, which is wider than a 5-story building. So it's a fairly sizable vehicle that is currently heading up to the station. And of course, that view you see there is going to get clearer as the vehicle draws nearer to the orbiting complex. This is Mission Control Houston. Our view of Dragon becoming even clearer as the spacecraft closes in on the orbiting complex. These two vehicles heading up over parts of Indonesia here in just a few minutes, continuing on up over the Pacific Ocean. They're going to be heading into nighttime in about 20 minutes. For this morning's activities as the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft continues to close in on the International Space Station. Both the SpaceX team and the team here in Houston have done their final go-no-go poll for Dragon to enter into what's called the keep-out sphere. This is an imaginary circle drawn around the station that any visiting vehicles must stay out of. But all systems on board Dragon have checked out as expected. All of the sensors are working as they expect them to. They are getting ready for the crew to issue a command to Dragon for it to resume inside this sphere around the International Space Station. And the team's now confirmed the Dragon has resumed its approach.
Complete. Resume has been executed. See approach mode.
All right, we see that down here as well. Sonny, great news.
Dragon will move from 250 meters up to 30 meters away from the station. It will hold there once again. There will be another go, no-go at that point.
The intermediate report. Primary and secondary ranges are decreasing, and I'll get you a Block Bravo in just a minute.
Stand by.
It's nice to see Dragon flying over the U.S.
Hey, Sonny, we're just ready to call you. We got good KU down here right now, so we do not require a Block Bravo, and we will call you back when we lose KU and need the Block Bravo, but we got a good solid band right now.
Okay, sounds great.
The SpaceX team is confirming that Dragon right now is 205 meters away from the station. Its rate is 0.8 of a meter. So fairly slow. But of course they do this very methodically during these final moments of these vehicles nearing each other. Second. Right now it is 185 meters away from the station. Its rate is 0.07 meters per second. If you look closely, you can see the pulsing of the jets of Dragon as it maintains its position. And this is a view looking straight down the robotic arm at Dragon. As we mentioned, Aki Hoshide is going to be in charge of using that arm to reach out and snag Dragon out of the sky once it arrives at the capture point later on this morning. Right now, according to the clocks here in Mission Control, and Dragon will arrive at the 30-meter hold point in about 35 minutes. Capture is still on track for 1 hour, 47 minutes from now, or 6:22. These views always are a bit deceptive. These vehicles look like they are flying very slow and gracefully through space as they fly together. In reality, they're going extremely fast, 17,500 miles an hour, which is basically Mach 25. And the crew is continuing to take a look at this robotic workstation view, which we see here. That's a big green box is what Dragon needs to stay within. They have a crew command panel there at their fingertips that they could use to either issue a retreat or abort command if they had to. But everything going according to plan. Dragon right now 163 meters away from the station. The rate still the same as it was before, basically 0.06, 0.07 meters per second. Just because the area in which Dragon can move around and needs to hold itself obviously gets narrower as it gets closer to the complex itself. You heard the call from CJ Sturko just a few minutes ago saying that even though we're running a bit ahead of schedule, they're really going to rely on the crew to take a look at what the lighting is outside. Obviously, they want to have a good view of Dragon as Aki Hoshide, with Sonny Williams backing him up, reaches out with the station's arm to grab onto Dragon. So the arm is now moving toward Dragon. Aki Hoshide is steering it. Sonny Williams is watching over, making sure that everything is going down according to the plan. These two spacecraft are 252 miles above the Pacific Ocean, just off the coast of California, almost directly beside Los Angeles and Hawthorne, California, where the SpaceX team is housed. The robotics officer estimating about 3 meters between the robotic arm and Dragon. They're confirming that the Dragon is in free drift. It is not steering itself any longer. About 2 meters away. Everything lined up as expected. See the attachment point there. That is where the arm will grab onto. One meter left. Capture confirmed at 5:56 a.m. Central Time. The two vehicles are currently 250 miles above the Pacific Ocean just to the west of Baja, California. Once again, 5:56 a.m. Central Time, 6:56 a.m. Eastern Time. Dragon is captured.
Houston, station on 2. Capture complete. We got to go for post-capture reconfigure. Looks like we've tamed the Dragon. We're happy she's on board with us. Thanks to everybody at SpaceX and NASA for bringing her here to us and the ice cream.
We copy, Sonny. Nice flying. We'll put the post-capture configuration in work.
Expedition 33 Commander Sonny Williams there talking with the ground teams here in Houston and, of course, in SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California, congratulating both teams on the arrival of SpaceX's Dragon to the International Space Station. The Expedition 33 team has now captured Dragon successfully at 5:56 a.m. Central Time, 6:56 a.m. Eastern Time. Just a few inches separating Dragon and the International Space Station at this point in time. The distance continuing to be reduced inch by inch. The two vehicles are currently 257 miles above the South Pacific Ocean. They're heading on down toward South America. The robotics officer confirming what they call here in Houston RTL. That means ready to latch. Again, there's 4 latches.
For robotics, we're at 7 and no 4 RTLs.
Copy for RTLs.
So 4 latches and 16 bolts.
Morning, Kate.
Good morning. Station Houston on Space to Ground 2. We are ready for you for install. And in step 3 of 1.110, we are in a stable attitude.
Copy that. Thank you very much. 1.110 in work.
Thank you. Sure thing.
So once again, the crew has wrapped up first stage capture. They have limped the arm, which basically just means they took the tension off of it. Its job is basically finished for now. They are moving towards second stage capture. This is the final step in the installation of Dragon to the International Space Station. These two spaces are 266 miles above the Earth. They're just crossing the western edge of Chile. And they're going to be crossing over Argentina here just momentarily. Control Houston, the space station and Dragon continue to fly over the South Atlantic Ocean. Their altitude right now 272 miles. We are still in the process of what we call second stage capture. Once this is completed, that will be our official installation time. For those of you just joining us, it's been a fairly quick morning. The crew's been running ahead of schedule the entire time. Dragon was captured at 5:56 a.m. Central Time, 6:56 a.m. Eastern Time, as the two vehicles flew 250 miles above the Earth just to the west of Baja, California. But Ike Hoshide and Sonny Williams, 2 members of Expedition 33, are currently in the process of finishing up this second stage capture. There's a series of latches and bolts that have to be secured, and then we will be able to call an official installation time of Dragon to the International Space Station itself.
Thank you.
So once again, second stage capture completed on Dragon. This marks our official installation time of 8:03 a.m. Central Time, 9:03 a.m. Eastern Time. These two spacecraft were high above the South Atlantic Ocean, just about halfway in between Africa and South America. Its altitude 273 miles. Once again, 8:03 a.m. Central Time, 9:03 a.m. Eastern Time for the official installation time of the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft to the International Space Station. Here's a look out at the station itself with Dragon attached now. You see the Soyuz 31 or the TMA-05M back there on the Rosvet module. That is what brought up Sonny Williams, Yuri Malenchenko, and Aki Hoshide. This will also serve as their ride home coming up in November. And then the Progress 48 back there as well, docked to the Piers docking compartment. The Dragon, now the newest member of the space station complex. It was grappled at 5:56 a.m. Central Time. It was installed at 8:03 a.m. Central Time. It has quite a bit of cargo inside, which of course was the point of this mission. 882 pounds of cargo brought up to the station. Tons of science being delivered to the Expedition 33 crew. And then of course Dragon will be unloaded over the next several days. The hatch will be opened up tomorrow. The crew will perform an inspection of the inside of the vehicle like they always do anytime a new visiting vehicle arrives. Make sure that the environment is safe, that nothing is floating in there that is not expected. And they will begin the process of unloading all the cargo over the next several days. They'll also be packing it full of items that are coming back to Earth. Typically, these cargo vehicles are packed full of trash and burn up in the Earth's atmosphere. Dragon's a bit different. It has the ability to return cargo, so it's going to be bringing home quite a number of samples and other equipment that is no longer needed on board the station or is due back here on Earth for further research. Dragon will be bringing back 1,673 pounds at the conclusion of this mission.